Good evening. Good evening. I am your host, Dr. Reggie Ratliff, and welcome to our guest. I want to wish everyone a happy new year because this is our first show in 2024. And we're going to bring on, without further ado, my co-host, my co-laborer in the vineyard, and expert financial advisor, Terrence Hollingsworth. Terry, can you hear me? Terry, are you there? Can you hear me, Terry? Okay. Looks like we are going to move forward. Try one more time, Terry. Can you hear me? Okay, so we'll get back with Terry later, but the purpose of this show is to talk about something that's very dear and near in our community, and that's scholarships. Now, I'm talking about a seasoned adult who may not know about this type of scholarship that exists for her. This is called the Jeanette Rankin Foundation Scholarship. And who I like to bring on is a young lady who represents the Jeanette Rankin Foundation. And her name is LaTrena Artis. LaTrena, are you there? So what we're trying to do is establish connection. Doesn't look like we're getting it very well right now. LaTrena, can you hear me?
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Yes. Yes, there you are. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. What about yourself?
I can't complain. Amazing as well. Let's go right into it. You are here because there's something that the audience needs to know about in terms of education for adults, form of scholarship. Can you talk about the Jeanette Rankin Foundation to start off with, and talk about the scholarship in its entirety?
Absolutely. Thank you again so much, Dr. Ratliff, for having me on again. It's a delight and a pleasure to be on. So again, my name is LaTrena Artis. I love to share this because I think it's applicable and appropriate to share. I had the plum-pleasing pleasure of being a Scholar Grant recipient about 15 years ago. If you hear me get super passionate about it, it's because I understand what this means for a woman to obtain her education, but I also know the challenges that comes along with going back to further your education. So let's talk a little bit about the Jeanette Rankin Foundation. The Jeanette Rankin Foundation is an organization that is just not coming on the scene. We're in a few years about to celebrate 50 years being in existence, nice. Having supported almost 1,900 women with scholar grants all across the United States, right? So it's not like we're just coming up. We've been doing this, as my kids would say, we're not new to this, we're true to it. So we have the amazing, opportunity to benefit. Just in 22-23, we awarded 195 scholar grants to women all across the United States. I think demographically, I think it was about 34 states to be exact that we were represented in. If you don't know, please look her up. Jeanette Rankin herself was the first woman elected to Congress. And, you know, she's not in our history books, and she should be, but you definitely want to look her up because she was a trailblazer in her time, even before women had the right to vote, right? So she was a phenomenal individual and certainly has led the way for many women now who are in Congress and in the Senate. She was a front runner of that. But again, the foundation was actually established from a bequeath from the sale of Miss Rankin's home. Wow. $16,000 in 1978 is what was bequeathed from the sale of her home. Our first scholarship was given to a nursing student in Athens for $500, 1978. Okay.
Wow.
And
Amazing.
again, here we are now, have been able to increase the amount that the scholar grants, and our scholar grants are renewable. So a woman can receive up to $2,500 a year. And as Dr. Ratliff mentioned earlier, it's unrestricted funds. What does that mean?
Right.
That means that you can take these funds and utilize them in whatever capacity you see fit. If you need it for housing, that's fine. If you needed to pay for groceries, if you needed to pay for childcare, we understand that a lot of the students have already obtained funding for their tuition and can purchase books, or maybe you need it for books. Whatever it is that you need it for, you can do just that. What we do and how we do it is certainly different and outside of the norm. We can, if you so choose, send those funds directly over to your bank account. Okay. So that way you can use it however you need to. But if you needed to go over to the school, we can do that as well.
That's phenomenal. Unrestricted. That's the word. Unrestricted. That's beautiful. Because, you know, going back to school isn't easy. And then you have to worry about expenses and things like that. So the fact that it's unrestricted, it really, you know, takes a lot of weight off a prospective student's shoulders, right? When you talk about the scholarships and things like that they receive. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why, again, as a non-traditional student, because age-wise, you can be, depending on where you're located, and we can definitely talk about that, but 25 and up. If you're in Georgia or Montana, okay, the age range is 25 and older. If you're outside of Georgia and Montana, that age range is 35. Okay. And just thinking about statistics, we have about 65% of our women who are single head of their households, median income of $20,000. Just think about them being able to receive $2,000 to $2,500. It's 10% of their income, right? And being able to take it and utilize it however they see fit can certainly be a game changer for a non-traditional student just trying to take care of her family.
So someone such as yourself, who is a recipient of this blessing in the past, how has it sustained you in terms of being able to move forward in higher academia and just in your career? You have a testimony as well, right?
I absolutely do. You know, all of us are not gifted with individuals in our family who understand the power and the blessing of becoming educated, right? I had a grandmother. I share this all the time because I want you to know it's not where you started, but it's where you end, okay? And possibly where you're going. My grandmother was illiterate, couldn't read, couldn't write, but her dream for me was to graduate from high school without any children. Why do I say that? I was raised in the projects, right? And unfortunately, statistics for a young adult, young girl, even the males, they normally don't come out of the projects. And if they come out of that environment, they don't come out with an education. And most of the time they come out with babies attached to them. So I just have to say I was one of the fortunate ones because of my grandmother's belief and just her instilling in me education. Her level of success was just to a high school degree. However, you know now, come on, Dr. Ratliff, you know for yourself, high school degree gets you a job at McDonald's nowadays, even if you can get at McDonald's, right?
Yes, indeed.
And, you know, thinking about what you're making, you can't provide, you know, at a high level for your family working off that income. And don't get me wrong, please don't misunderstand me. I worked at McDonald's, you know, you got to do what you got to do so you can do better. However, what I knew and understood is that that education was going to be a vehicle for me to make a better life for my family. And so when you understand that, you then begin to make some adjustments and some sacrifices. I knew that having children was not going to afford me to be able to do it as swiftly as I could. So thankfully, I didn't have children at an early age. And please hear me, because I may be talking to a mom right now who has kids. That does not eliminate you. That does not stop you. Matter of fact, allow that to motivate you so that you can now be an example, a front runner for your children. Because oftentimes some kids nowadays, I don't know where this sense of entitlement comes from, but we have to show them it certainly can be done. And it can be done with hard work, perseverance, grit, and determination.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
Well,
it's obtainable. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, indeed. Sister Artist, we are living in a time where people who, who graduate or even don't have huge student loan debt. And, whether it's Sallie Mae or private, getting a Parent Plus loan or whatever, they have this huge debt that they can't pay, and it impacts their household income, as well, expenses more importantly. But you say this is this grant or this wherever this blessing is that's called. It's not just a 1-year thing. You can receive it every year. Is that correct?
That is correct. Our scholar grant is not only unrestricted, it's renewable. What does that mean? As long as you are still moving forward in your degree, you can renew our scholar grant up to 5 years. That's right. You heard me. As long as you remain eligible, you're still working on your degree. All you have to do is communicate that with us by way of your successful transcript submission and completing, of course, just the renewal process. And what our mission and our goal is to get you to college completion. Okay. And we certainly, you said something very powerful, Dr. Ratliff. The student loan debt is astronomical. However, that's one of the things that I love to encourage women as you're looking to go back and to complete your education. Don't be afraid to apply for every scholar grant that you qualify for. That's oftentimes scholar grant is free money. That's money that you can take to supplement and not have to take out as many student loans, not have to take out those Parent Plus loans and whatever other loans, the subsidized, the unsubsidized, all of that. Don't put yourself in a pickle when you finish your education that your debt is so high that you're almost, living poor. Okay. That's a whole nother conversation in itself.
You are career rich, but student loan poor because you spending about 40% of your income paying back that student loan that's $1,000, $1,500 a month to one of those creditors. So yeah, I get it. This grant, and you said something that was pivotal. It's a grant. You don't have to pay it back. People are confused. When they think grant, they think loan. They're not even cousins. They're not even the same atmosphere. They're not in the same lane or same road, not in the same wheelhouse, whatever hyperbole you want to use. They're not connected. A grant is something you do not have to pay back. And that kind of deters people from applying for grants. And you mentioned scholarships and things like that because they think they have to pay it back. That is a fallacy. Is that right, Sister Artist?
That is correct. And let me tell you what I love. I'm going to promote the foundation in a different light here. That is one of the things, to be honest with you, I've been on with the organization a little over 8 years. And when we came on, we were doing scholarships directly over to the school. And unfortunately, for some, that wasn't a good approach to take, because if they were at their limit of what they could receive for the year, that then caused them to enter into this whole thing called displacement. Again, a whole nother conversation. But what would happen was the scholar was unable to actually receive the funds that had been gifted to them by us. Wow. So that's why we figured out another approach to be able to get the funds into these scholars' hands and allow them to be able to utilize these funds without being affected by their schools and things of that nature. So that's why we went to an unrestricted approach. And then don't get me wrong, there are some that still need the funds to go over there because if they have exhausted all of their financial aid, then they still need that money to cover their tuition. But it's not putting them in a position where they will be over the allowed limit for the year and funds have to be returned and they can't utilize it.
Beautiful. Can I just add something for free for the audience? And Sister Artist will probably agree with me on this. You have subsidized and unsubsidized loan. Subsidized goes tuition. Unsubsidized is whatever is left. You get a check, right? Do not check unsubsidized if you do not need the money. That's how you go into deeper debt. By that check of $5,000 might look good, but guess what? You have to pay it back with interest. So that's why having Sister Artist on the podcast tonight is pivotal and it's positive. You want to be progressive as you begin promoted to higher academia. This is a grant. This is not subsidized or unsubsidized. It's not a loan, people. All right. This is free money to take advantage of. I just wanted to throw that in out there, Sister Artist.
Love it. Free.
Yeah, I got a $5,000 check. Thank God. No. If you don't need it, give it back because you got to pay for that. So
you do.
I digress.
With interest.
6% or more. It just depends on the market, So yeah, great point. But in terms of those who, aspire to return to school, they take advantage of this wonderful grant. Can they go through a certification program or does it have to be a degree? How does that look?
That is a great question. And the answer to that is absolutely yes. You can be working toward a certification, cosmetology, phlebotomy, CNA. I mean, let me put this out there. As long as whatever the certification that you are looking to work on or obtaining is coming from an accredited school. Okay, that's key. And a nonprofit school. Okay, so there's still the eligibility criteria still works if it's a certification. So absolutely, by all means, if you're just starting out, I'll use the nursing and you're just in CNA and maybe looking to move on to medical assisting, whatever it is, you can certainly utilize it for a certification that you're looking to obtain as long as it's accredited. Okay.
Nice. Credited and approved. Yeah. So absolutely right. So you can't go to Leroy Shack House and tell them what they give the certificates, CNAs. No. It has to be credible, which makes sense. Yes. Don't do it to yourself. No. So as time starts to dwindle away, again, thank you for coming on to the podcast. You're sharing some very valuable information. And speaking of which, there is a movement towards receiving a grant that's coming up and is due pretty soon. Is that correct? And I think Terry has a video he wants to show before you discuss it. Terry, is that correct? You want to show it? Go ahead.
I think that one's going over into the more so of our Great Force campaign.
Yes.
But I can certainly talk about our application season and cycle is open right now. Okay. And I'm stressing that because it's open until February the 16th. This is very, very important because if you want to be considered for a scholar grant for the 24-25 academic school year, this is when you have to apply. Okay. Application process is really pretty straightforward. As you see scrolling across, rankinfoundation.org is where you need to go to be able to find our scholar grant applications. But there's one step as you click on up top of the screen, it'll say scholar grants. From there, we offer, I want to make sure I'm clear here. We do offer 3, if you would, different grants, and it really is just based off of your location. One is a national grant. It's for individuals who live anywhere in the United States, and the age range for them is 35 and over. Okay. There is what we call an emerge grant. The emerge grant is for women who live in Georgia or Montana, and the age limit is 25 and over. And then we just recently acquired additional funding to work with tribal college students.
Oh, nice.
And nationally. So if you are attending a tribal college and you have tribal affiliation, you can be 25 and over. And again, that's national. Can you apply? The question I get, and I want to make sure I clarify here. No, you don't apply for 3 different ones. Once you go into the pool, you will answer based off your eligibility. If you're attending a tribal college, that's kind of where you'll go. And to be honest with you, the age requirement is lower. However, if you're not in Georgia, Montana, or attending a tribal college, then you would go in our national application pool, and that's 35 and older. But again, it's open right now. You have to get in there and submit it. You do have to upload. I'm going to hit the points that I think I want to make sure you get it right. We do ask you to upload like financials, okay, and financials that pretty much verify. If you say your income is $11,000 for the year, you need to upload documentation that says your income is $11,000 for the year. You can do that via your taxes. You can do it if you're on Social Security disability. If you didn't file taxes, that's okay. Some individuals were on unemployment. That's okay. Upload that letter. Upload your statement letter. Upload your Social Security benefits letter. If you receive SNAP, upload that. If that's, TANF, whatever you receive as your income, you just have to upload that information to support whatever you say. Another piece that I think others that I don't want to say you get stumped up, tripped up on, but just ensuring you understand, you do have to submit information to request 2 letters of recommendation. And so you do not upload their letter. You send them an email. When you're in the application portal, you put in their name, you put in their email address, how you know them, you click send, and it sends them actually a request to complete a letter of recommendation on your behalf. I want to throw this out here, and I'm going to grab the Zoom link in just a second. Dr. Ratliff, I have been doing what we call applicant support, where I am on Zoom every Wednesday night with the applicants to answer their questions live. Now, the last one is this Wednesday, which is the 31st. I don't know if it will air. Will it air before then? So if we missed it, scratch that. However, if there's questions in between now, I can certainly still provide an email if you're in there, have questions, and are not sure about a particular portion in the application. But the key is to get in there and start the application so that you can get it completed and submitted before February the 16th.
That's powerful, because not many funders will draw a Zoom link and help applicants answer questions. So that's very commendable. That's really good. But you put the information out there, even if there is no Zoom, broadcast on the 31st of January. They have the information. They know how to access it. So do the best you can. It's out there. It doesn't cost you a dime. It just costs you a little bit of time.
A little bit of time.
But you invest in that time so you can have higher earning income potential and perhaps get into the field you aspire to grow into if you aren't in it right now. So take advantage of these type of resources. And so so Terry wanted me to ask about emergency fund. Is that something that you've already addressed or something that you can address?
It is not something that I have addressed, but this is the power of getting connected to a foundation. Dr. Ratliff, thank you for recognizing and noticing that we're an outlier. What I've done is try to remove any barriers that an applicant, even once they become a scholar, have to be able to prevent them from being successful. So that's the main reason I do that Zoom with them. Sometimes you just need to give them a little bit of encouragement. So that's the reason I do the Zoom, and we do that also with our scholars. But once you become a scholar with us, what we also want to do is set the bar real high. We do keep in touch with every last one of our scholars, and we understand that life will life, okay? And when that happens, oftentimes, sometimes just as small as $40 can prevent a student from being able to continue with their education. One bad tire may be able to prevent a student from getting over to their school for classes. So what we have been able to do, thankful for the partnerships that we have, we do have what we call the resiliency fund, which is / AKA emergency fund, that we provide to our scholars. When life starts lifing, they can fill out just a short survey, just kind of telling us what the challenge that they're encountering, provide documentation to support that request. And I'm going to be honest with you, as long as they have documentation and it's a legitimate request, for the most part, these scholars are able to get the support and assistance that they need. I mean, just to name a few, we've kept people from eviction. We've kept them in their cars. We've certainly had a lot of car repairs. And this season, a lot of them are having home repairs if they're in a home and pipes bursting and things of that nature. And again, when your median income is $20,000, you oftentimes don't have the funds to be able to support those expenses, unexpected expenses, because that's what it is. So we strive to make sure we provide wraparound support for our scholars so they can be successful in their education.
And graduate. Yes, graduate. This is phenomenal. This is great. This is really great news that you're sharing. So I want to, I guess, kind of close the podcast. Is now a good time to discuss the Great Force Scholarship campaign? Okay, Terry just put it. Great Force campaign. Okay, let's do it. All right. Thank you, Terry, for saying yes.
Take note, there are 2 million women out there working on post-secondary education who fit our grant criteria. The unmet need is huge. So our first goal is to be able to provide scholar grants to all of the women that make it to level 3. They are fully qualified. So for these reasons, we launched the Great Force campaign 2 years ago. We invite you to join us in Jeanette's charge to be a great force.
Jeanette's Great Force. It's powerful.
Yes.
Those were some visual testimonies, right?
Yeah. Those were women, as you saw them putting their hands up to their face. Yeah, they were actually they were being notified that they had received the scholar grant. And how can we do it? By way of the individuals that support the foundation in this capacity. And you heard that alarming number, over 2 million women that are in need of funds to complete their education. So our goal is at the foundation is to be able to, when we go through the review round, there is a 3-tier review process when you submit an application. And each year we have had to tell women we know, because we don't have enough funds to provide scholar grants for all of them. Our goal is to not have to tell any of our applicants no that make it to level 3. So now we're in this great force to make this happen so that we can continue to support more and more women that are excited and on the path for, college completion.
That's awesome. Do you have a limit or a certain number of awardees that you allocate the grants to every year?
Absolutely. And the question I get asked is how many are open to receive for a new scholar grant? Because we do renewal scholar grants, that number fluctuates each year. Now, I told you last year we did 195. We're adding 35 more. So we're going to 30, excuse me. So we're going to be at 225 this year. Nice. Let's say 100 of them graduate. That means I now have 100 openings if they graduate with their bachelor's, because if it's associates, they're still going, right? But if we have 100 that graduate with a bachelor's, that means I have 100 new openings for those applicants that are now in the application pool, looking and seeking assistance as it relates to them wanting to receive one of our scholar grants.
That's powerful. So you said something that triggered a question. So if they wanted to pursue a master's degree or a PhD, could they also apply, or is that just for up to the bachelor level?
Up to right now, again,
Okay.
Dr. Ratliff, we're already at 2.2 million and just had a bachelor's degree. So we would love to be able to support beyond that, because we know there is still so much support that is needed. Now, they still stay in contact with us, but as it relates to providing scholar grants, it's up to your first bachelor's degree. And I'll say this, if you already have a bachelor's, that means you would be ineligible, unfortunately.
Mhm.
But if you're working toward that first bachelor's certification, associates, we definitely invite you to come over to that rankinfoundation.org and apply for the scholar grant.
I have just one more question. Now you have you've given back, so you've utilized that resource and you've been blessed, and now you're giving back by way of working on behalf of the foundation. Are there others who've graduated in part because of the support from the foundation who has given back, either volunteer or donation or employment, things like that?
Yes, I am just delighted that we have our scholar support personnel by way of, her name is Breezy. Breezy was a Rankin alum. She's a Rankin alum now, who was also a Rankin scholar. And I'm going to go ahead and put that out here because we're on the air and I may just be able to find our next best person. We are currently hiring for a full-time. Actually, I'm going to use this because we are giving preference to tribal college individual who has that type of experience, because as I just shared with you, we just received additional funding. So there is an opportunity to work with us as our national tribal scholar college support specialist. And again, because it's dealing more so within the Native community, we will give preference to somebody who is an indigenous background and has tribal affiliation and connection. But what we also understand, that was a great question, Dr. Ratliff, those of us who have walked the walk, we have a different kind of connection, if you would. We have a different passion, even a different care for those, because we understand what it takes to be able to go through this process and do it and come out on the other end of it. Not everybody has that successful testimony, but those of us that do, we just kind of have a heart, I guess, if you would, for the people. So not only do we have individuals that are now working with the foundation who were formerly Scholar Grant recipients, but we have an advisory team, an advisory board of our alums that certainly work with us to give back. They give back with helping us be able to look and strategically ensure that our program is effective in all manners. Not only that, we have individuals that give monthly. We have alums. My goal this year is for us to be able to fund at least 5 scholar grants from our alums.
Nice.
So
you saw where I was going, like giving back, not just time and talent, but treasure.
Yes.
And keeps it going, right? That's what keeps it going. Nice. Well, I want to thank you, Sister Artist, for coming onto our podcast this evening. And I wish you continued success. And may God continue to bless the foundation, you and those recipients now and in the future. So I want to give you the final word to make any announcements, any other announcement that we may not have discussed, but to close us out with words of encouragement.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again, Dr. Ratliff and Terrence, for inviting me on to share and to be able to just inform those who will listen to this information. What I want to encourage those that will listen, do not procrastinate on this opportunity. Now, the opportunity is open right now, but February the 16th, it closes. And I promise you, I get tons of questions that come on February the 16th. I just received this information. Can I still apply? Well, if the portal is still open, surely you can apply. But once that portal closes, it closes. And let me say this to you. You don't know if you will be selected unless you try. If you don't try, it's an automatic no, right? But at least if you try, there's a possibility that it could be a yes. As we shared earlier, apply for every scholar grant that you qualify for, so that when you get to graduation, you do not have that astronomical number of debt lingering on you, and you're having to pay out more than you're bringing in coming fresh out of graduation. So come on, join our team of applicants for this year. And I hope to be able to congratulate you and have you doing this on the other end of the call, because you just may be the very one that will receive a Jeanette Rankin Foundation Scholar Grant for the 24-25 academic year.
Beautiful words by our guest, Miss LaTrena Artist of the Jeanette Rankin Foundation. She said something that was very important. If you don't try, then you will fail, right? Of course. But nothing beats a failure but a try. Continue to try. If you haven't continued, start and continue. Strive. Don't try to struggle. Strive for success. If there's a setback, brush yourself off and move forward. Continue to try. That should be your goal for 2024. Get back at it. Get back on the horse called life and ride to that road to success. Again, thank you for our guest, LaTrena Artist, coming on to our podcast. I wish everyone a happy and safe and blessed 2024. I am your host, Dr. Ratliff. Tune in next time as we bring on our next phenomenal guest. Until that time, God bless you, be safe, and good night.